scraps of your life into beautiful creations. This week, I've been really excited for this week. Let me say that first. But what I did not expect was to not feel well all week. So I've had a bit of a difficult time putting the video together. So I'm hoping everything is still understandable and laid out in an easy manner because it took me a while to do it. Fabric postcards. Okay, I know there are a lot of tutorials for fabric postcards. You probably don't even need a tutorial for fabric postcards, but everybody does fabric postcards just a little bit differently. And that is the good thing, because you can learn so much from everyone who does them. So every person who has a blog or a YouTube channel and shows you fabric postcards, they're going to tell you something different that you might not have known before, or they're going to clue you into something you hadn't thought of before. And mine, I do average ones, and that's my favorite right there. Well, maybe. I say that, but like this one, there was gray fabric that had writing in French on it, and then I took some fabric that had France, and actually this one looks like it was postmarked in Paris. So I thought, well, that would look good on there. And then when I was playing around with the fabrics, I had that little piece of pink that went in behind there. So that just made it pop a little bit more. Now this one isn't sewn around the edge. I haven't got this one completely finished, but as you'll see in the tutorial, we did take out quite a few of them. So the only thing I can think of that I didn't mention in the tutorial that I really wanted to was, when you do this style of postcard, or any style actually, but use some of your decorative stitches or free motion quilting. It's the perfect time for it. Now I just did the quilt as you go, where I quilted it. I put right sides together, you know, my strips were right sides together down on a piece of cotton batting. Now you could use felt, you could use fusible fleece. There's any number of things you can use, and I'm sure you know, most of you guys are going to know exactly what you want to use. But if you have any questions, leave them down below. But cotton is most generally what's used. And I have a bag full of cotton scraps. It's one of those, you know, the comforters come in one of those clear plastic bags with a zipper that goes around most of the way. I have one of those completely full of cotton batting scraps. And some of them are still big enough to make postcards, but you know what comes next. It's going to be Franken-piecing after this, which I've done, and I actually like to do that. But anyway, so feel free to, you know, take what I give you as a tutorial and expand upon it. You know, make it your own, because that's what it's all about. Make every project your own. So if you noticed, I made an intro. Now, I'd never made an intro before, but if you caught the little jingle at the beginning, that's what I was doing at 1:30 this morning because I was awake. And so I kind of played around with some pictures and little clips, and I put them to music, and that's my first one. So I felt pretty proud of myself for being the first one. And the reason I want to do it now is this past Friday marked my 3-month YouTube anniversary. That's right. I've been here for 3 months. So I figured that was a little something to celebrate. I'll have everything you need for this tutorial listed in the description box. And I'm also going to link to my friend Robin's channel. She's called RS Island Crafts. There are a few other YouTubers that I have gathered information about the postcards from, but her site, I spent more time there, and she explained to me personally about the envelopes, which I'll tell you guys about during the video. So I wanted to give credit where credit was due, so I'll link her videos down below. I think she has a playlist that I'll send you to. And other than that, for the basic postcard, you'll just need your cardstock or comic book board, your fabric scraps, your cotton batting. Now I used heat and bond. If you watch Robin's videos, she uses heat and bond for a whole entirely different reason than what I use heat and bond for. But there again, that's what's great about watching everybody. You pick up different things from different people. Okay, so I think that was it. That's all I wanted to tell you. So we'll get on with the tutorial. And I hope you guys like it. I've been excited to show it to you because fabric postcards are something that are really fun to make. So before we get to the tutorial, I'm going to put in some snapshots of ones that I made for Valentine's Day this year. I gave them out. I didn't think of them in time to get them to everyone who should have gotten one, but I did get quite a few made, and I used a lot of lace and a little, personal touch on each one to make it for the individual person I was making them for. So if you take a look at that, you'll get more of a feel of the type of postcards that I like to make. Today isn't a perfect representation of them, so I wanted to make sure to show you what I have done in the past, just so you'll know. So anyway, you'll be able to take a look at my postcards, then we'll get to the tutorial, and then after the tutorial, I lay out the postcards, although I forgot to, that I've worked on yesterday and today, so you can take a look at those. But I want to thank you for hanging out with me today, and let's get to it. So there are a lot of different ways to make fabric postcards. I've seen quite a few different ways on YouTube. I take some from each way they're made, and then I kind of do my own thing, and I think we all should do that. It's kind of like my dad. He was a chef, and he used to say a recipe is just a guide, and that's all this is. This is not set in stone that you have to make it any one way, or like I do or someone else does. Just take it on for yourself. Okay, I just want to show you a little bit of the variety that I made. So this was strips going this way. As you can see, this fabric here was wine cork fabric. So I had some fabric that had wine labels on it, and I used some heat and bond on the back of them, put them there, and sewed them on, along with some selvage edges of fabric that I saved. All right, so there are a lot of different ways to make fabric postcards. You see, you could go diagonally, you could go up and down, you can go side to side, you can use whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. Here's one of mine that's a finished one. Does it match? No, but that's okay. They're all sewing related fabrics. We've got thimbles and buttons, and this was the selvage from some sewing fabric, and this one had a needle and thread, and then we've got a bias tape. I actually pieced that because it was too short. You want to make your line halfway across. Our cards measure 4.5 by 6.5, and again, that's not set in stone. You could do whatever you want it to be. I was busy cutting these out and chatting with a friend, and I cut a few a 1/4 inch too short, but it's going to be fine. It's fine. Okay, so this is what you need. You need cardstock or comic book board, and I'm going to leave some links down below. The one thing I want to warn you against: do not buy cheap cardstock. I did that. It was way too thin, and I had to use 2 or 3 layers to even get something that was stiff enough to call it a card. So if you go cheap, you might not like your results. Cotton batting. I just take scraps of cotton batting. You can even piece them together. I've done that many times. So far we've got your scraps, your cotton batting, your cardstock or comic paper, heat and bond light. And that is for adding things like when I added the wine labels and the other ones I'm going to show you. If you have fabric that is just the right size for a postcard and not this, I'm going to show you some ways that we can use these. You're going to need some glue of some sort. I've used a glue stick, I've used white Elmer's glue, I've used this clear Elmer's glue, and I think I've used tacky glue. I would recommend I wouldn't recommend anything like hot glue. The other thing you're going to want is little pieces of fabric. If you're going to do any applique work, you're going to want just little pieces of something that has pictures on them. See, like even this, even though the bear isn't all there, I can still use that. She's still a cute little bear. If you have little pieces of fabric, we're going to make this work. I'm going to show you some really neat things. So I think the best thing for me to do is show you the basic way, and then when I go to sew the more elaborate ones, I guess I would say more elaborate, I'll let you watch, but I'll just speed up the video so that you can see what I'm doing. And see, I had this little piece. I'm going to give you this example right here. This piece of fabric was left over from something that I made a month or so ago for the baby. Okay? So I applied the Heat and Bond Light to the back of it. And all you do is you place it with its crinkly side against the back side of the fabric. You iron it on for a couple of seconds. The directions are right on the package, real easy. And then you just cut out around whatever you want. So now I have things cut out from fabric scraps. And I can use these on the postcards. And it's going to be cute. It's going to dress them up. And we're going to get rid of scraps like that. I mean, yeah, I could cut that into a different shape and use it as a crumb, but I can also add it to the blocks. All right. So I did use a micron pen. You don't need one. You can use a Bic pen. You can use anything you want to make your line here. Also, if you want, you could add lace, rickrack, buttons, or what have you. I've done that many times. Everything is possible. This is one of my finished ones. So that's how they end up looking when they're done. One thing I want to strongly warn you against right now is when you're sewing the edges, do not use a satin stitch. When you get all those stitches that are all close together and you're going along there, I want you to think about what that needle's doing. It's perforating the paper every time it goes down through there. And if you go too close together with your stitches, the back is going to come right off. It's going to come right off there, okay? So be careful of that. When I get to the point that I put the paper on the back, I do use a walking foot. And for some reason, I can see that it's leaving a mark. I'm going to have to check out and see, because my walking foot is brand new. Maybe that's why, but it's got a little mark there. I'm going to have to check that out. But anyway, you always want to make sure you sign it. That's how I sign mine, just Marie's Scrappy Creations 2022. I learned that from Robin over at RS Island Crafts. She was the first person that I saw do postcards, and I've seen many since then. And you know, like I say, you learn something from everyone and then you put your own style to it, and that's what we all want. We all want you to do what feels best for you. And we just all throw out our ideas, and you know, whatever you like, you grab. Okay, let's get busy. So this is what I'm going to be working with. These are my selvage edges that I have been saving for about a year and a half. For so long, I didn't save any, and now I feel like I'm getting somewhere anyway. I have them that just simply, you know, say, you know, no unauthorized use. Might just say cotton. But some of them get pretty tricky, like I showed you the wine label ones, or this one, Ramblin' Woods. you never know what you're going to get. Some of them are really cool. So I save them all now because they look great on the fabric postcards. Other than that, you just want some strips, okay? See, I save from fabric books I've made. I save strips from anything. And all my narrow strips, this is my postcard bin right here. And yes, I could do string blocks or something, but right now, this is dedicated to postcards. That's what we're going to use it as today. Just in case you haven't been with me for one of the heat and bond attachment videos, I will show you really quickly. They just go the shiny kind of abrasive side to the back side of the fabric with a hot iron, no steam, just a couple of seconds. That's all it takes, just like that. And then of course you would cut out whatever shape you want it to be. I usually square it off first. This is just me, I don't know. Whatever shape I want. Then I usually round the corners, because it is easier sometimes to round the corners when you're sewing than to stop and pivot. Personal choice, up to you. I'll call that close enough. Alright, so then I'm going to pan over to the left and we're going to see what's happening to begin. Okay, so I am planning out a few, and these are, some of them are specialty, what I call a specialty postcard. This one is going to be to welcome a new baby, which happens to be a girl. So I had these words. I have this little scrap, which is basically a crumb piece. I put some heat and bond on the back. I'm going to fold part of it in half, and I am just going to cut a simple heart shape. Cut it a little deeper there. I don't always get it right the first try. So while I show you this, I'm going to speed up the process so you can see how I start. Okay, I am refilming because when I went to edit, I had 20 minutes worth of video that would not it wouldn't work. Let's just say that. So I've been about 2 hours trying to deal with that. So I'm going to show you, we're going to take our cotton batting, whatever piece is in the center, and that doesn't matter whether you're going up and down, side to side, diagonally, whatever. You lay your piece right side up. Whatever your next piece is, I'm going to put this here. So I'm going to lay that right sides together, and I'm going to pin that into place. Set it by the sewing machine. And over here, I think I will go side to side on this one. So we're going to use that the wording there, California International Fabric. Oh, actually, I know why I was going to go this way, was because the bear and the moose were going up and down. So I'm going to place those guys in the center. And grab my scissors, trim it a little closer. So I think I want this on this side. So I'll lay that right sides facing. And I am going to stitch this. At least I don't think it matters what size needle you're using. But after sewing through the cardstock, you can dull your needle rather quickly. So what I tend to do is keep a needle that I mark, or I just put it in a special place, and that is my cardstock. It's my cardstock needle. And because once you put it through the cardstock, it really isn't as sharp as it should be. So then you need to switch it out. It's just easier to have one that's especially for that. And I'm trying to think of what size mine is. I think it's a 16, 18. I'm sorry, I really don't remember, but I think it's a heavier duty needle. Okay. So we'll open those seams and finger press. And now once you get, if your first few pieces are fairly wide, you can usually get a couple more pieces on one on each side, I guess is what I should say. I'm dropping everything over here. This is got 3 pieces here. This one over here. And let's see, let's put a piece of this here. You always want to open it up until you get used to doing this. Open it up and pretend that that's folded out to make sure that your edges are going. You know, that your corners are covering everything that they need to. A lot of times I just pin the first piece because then I hold it steady anyway, so. And we just continue on like this, and it doesn't matter which direction our pieces are going. Because once we've done this part, like once we've filled this whole piece, oops, there goes my iron. Once we've filled this whole piece, that's when we glue it onto our cardstock. But make sure before you glue it onto your cardstock, if you have anything you want to add to that, lace or anything, that you've done it so that everything is done at that point. Guess I only put one on one side of this one. That's what happens when I talk. But it's just right sides together. Any scrap goes with any scrap, or you can coordinate like what I did on my postcards, which I think that's the part that got deleted. Or, well, it's actually not deleted. I tried to export it from my video editor, and it just keeps giving me an error message, like the whole few minutes of video is not there, and I don't know how to fix it because I'm really quite technically challenged, if you want to know the truth. Okay, let's put some sunflowers over here with the wildlife. And now see, I don't mind repeating in a block. I actually think it can look nice, and I think this is the way I'm going to go with this one. Because I think I'm going to repeat this other one too. Whoops, I'm sorry if you can't see. Only my sewing. I've had such a trial today with the video. It's been a nightmare. when you spend 2 hours just trying to fix a 20-minute piece of video, it's pretty discouraging. So at this point, I'm just hoping you guys can see that I'm putting right sides together and I'm just working away. And I just continue on like this, filling each piece like this until it's full. Okay, now what we do next is I flip them over, take my rotary cutter, and I'm not worrying about my measurements at this point. I'm just cutting it roughly even with the edge of my batting. Just cutting off the excess that we have here. And then this is where you square it up, okay? So you want it to be 4.5 by 6.5, and I'm gonna see if I can get away without that corner. Oh, not quite. I'm gonna have to go back. I thought that I might have 4.5 inches there, so I am going to have to go back and put one more piece, but basically I would square it to 4.5. And that's what I'll do with the blue one. I'll cut off the excess. Okay, and there's nothing fancy about this blue one, it's just blues, all right? So we're going to even it up. So I take one edge, and I usually take one line there, even on my ruler. Now I'm going 6.5 inches. I want that to be nice and straight because my cardboard pieces are nice and straight. So I'm going to line this up here. Make sure I have a nice even edge. And now 4.5 inches. All right, 6.5 by 4.5. Now you take your card, lay it face down. So and I'm going to tell you, a lot of people don't write on it till after they're done. I am not that confident of a person because I have screwed up before and I don't want to have to take out all my sewing. So I always write on these first, okay? Put them right side down. And, oh, there's my glue. Now you don't need a lot of glue. You really don't. You're just getting the cotton batting to hold down. That's all you're doing. So that you can sew it into place. Just like that. Oh my goodness, look, I do own Wonder Clips. This is the first time you guys have ever seen me use Wonder Clips. I don't use them very often. I don't care for them personally, and I actually have an upcoming video about pins and clips and my reasonings and things. But everybody has their own way of doing things, for sure. All right, Now, when I take this back over to the sewing machine, I'm going to put my walking foot on, and I will show you which stitch that I use to go around these. Now, before I attached it, I could have added some lace or a button or anything, but I thought that that was all right. I like blue. I think blue's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so the stitch I'm going to use to go around the outer part, because the card is on, it's glued on, and I'm going to use, it's number 19 on mine, and it just looks like, I think of it as hen's feet. I don't know what you'd call it. A zigzag stitch can be used as long as you don't go too close together. That's the only problem, is you don't want any stitch that you choose to be too close, because if it's too close, it's going to perforate the paper too much and it's not going to stay on. Okay, so we're going to go around. You'll see me sew around with my walking foot. Okay, so our fabric postcards are finished. So if you want to mail them, you have a few options. The one I know I learned from Robin at R.S. Highland Crafts, and that is about these clear labels, or clear bags. I will leave a link. They're just a cellophane bag. The postcards fit into. Okay. And you can buy labels. They don't come all cut apart. I think there was 4 of them on a sheet. I've already cut them in half, but you peel them back like so. And you stick them on there, and then this closes and you can mail them just like that. And if you don't have any buttons or anything that sticks out, you just mail them for a regular stamp. It doesn't cost any extra. If you go over an ounce or you go over the thickness, then you're going to have to pay more. before I end the video, I wanted to say that our word of the day is going to be red. And as soon as I get done this part, I'm going to lay out the fabric postcards that I've made or had, or close to made, today and yesterday, so that you can see them all laid out there. And I apologize if anything seemed out of place or anything. I'm not feeling all that well, so it was kind of a struggle to put this whole thing together for you guys today. So I hope everything made sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. If you're not already a member, we have a Facebook page called Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we share what we make. Lots of scrapping going on over there in a good way. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And it really helps if you like or comment below. And I want to thank you all for hanging out with me today and learning to make scrappy postcards. And I think I gave you enough examples to show that there are so many ways to make them. There is no right or wrong way. There's only your way, and people love them. They're a great way to use up your scraps, especially your really narrow ones. You know, so I hope you have fun with that, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So take care, everyone, and stick around, and I'll show you a few of the ones I've finished.